I am really not a guy that's really geeky enough into the whole camera talk, but I just feel I can help myself to share my unsolicited opinions. So Sony just released camera. It's been trending for the last 72 hours, if not 48 hours. And Sony just released the FX2. And I gotta say, man, I don't think there's been a camera that's been ranted on, hated on than this camera. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think at least this year, which is the year 2025. And again, it's a camera that Sony says or claims that it's in between the FX3 and the FX30. So the FX3 is like this masterpiece, at least from what I've heard from the users, my friends who are creators, and what I've heard in the internet, Reddit, whatever it is. This is called like the epitome of a cinema camera. And then the FX30 was supposed to be the FX2, but well, it came in with some compromises, or some people would say some issues, and that was mostly all about its low light capabilities. And funny enough, I was just making a joke about it the other day before they released the camera. I was on a shoot with it was a group, where we're shooting, a lot of us, and some of the guys had an FX3, some of the guys had an FX30, and I was just making jokes between the guy who had the FX30 because they were probably gonna have to match those shots. And I was just more joking around about the low light capabilities. And I think with this camera, I think a lot of people, I kind of feel like there are people that are paid to talk about the camera, and there are people that hop in on the trend, which I'm trying to do that too, you know what I mean? But I would say my honest opinion about this camera, I really think this camera does fulfill specific needs for a specific group of people. Again, just roughly, all the specs and stuff, probably just put them here. I remember it has a 33 megapixel camera, back illuminated sensor. And the other thing I remember is it had a tilt EVF, which I thought that was kind of cool, especially me, man, shooting wildlife photography, man. I'm like, so that would have been handy. And then it has capabilities of shooting stills, which also has a dedicated button where you can move from movie to stills. And when I first heard it, I thought the stills were raw, but the files come in a format of JPEG and HEIV or HEIF. Sorry, my apologies. And also it shoots 4K, has all sort of like the color profiles from high-end Sony cameras or high-end cinema cameras. But the only thing that I remember a lot of people were kind of talking trash about also is it shooting 4K 60p, but in a Super 35, which means it's a crop. And I really thought that it wasn't that deep, but I also do understand that for some people it is a major factor. And I think the people that think it's a major factor, they're not the people that the camera is meant for. But I was just listening, man. But to be honest, I kind of considered the camera. I kind of thought of the camera, but because I'm potentially right now shopping around for a second camera. My main camera is the one that I'm shooting this video with, and it's the Lumix S5 Mark II. One hell of an investment, one hell of a beast. Lumix is the main reason why I left Sony after a couple of months, and I've been loving the experience so far. So I was thinking of having a second camera where I could use one primarily for shooting stills and maybe another one where I could shoot primarily videos. But also I kind of wasn't aiming more for a photography camera. I'm more of a hybrid shooter. So I was just more looking for something that I could take in more of like the wide angle shots, because a lot of the times I'm kind of tapped in with my 150 to 600 millimeters when I'm on safaris. I am right now. And sometimes when I'm having to take wide shots, then I have to switch my camera, which is sometimes not kind of embarrassing. But so I had considered the camera, but I think the one thing that kind of made me not want to invest in it, I think price wise is really good. I think it's $2,699 US. And I thought that was not a bad price for a camera of its caliber, especially as a cinema camera. So, but again, it's a good camera. It's a beautiful camera. But for me is the fact that I couldn't shoot raw stills, then, it was kind of at least for me, I felt like with the delivery work that I do or with the post-production that I do, I would really need to have the files in RAW so that I can have more flexibility in post. But one thing it does do though, it does take stills in log, which means you can later on do the same work for production on a person, like for example in DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro or something like that. So which a good bonus, but it's not going to do it. So if you're watching this, I just want to tell you, don't listen to all the rants. Some of the people, they get paid to talk shit about this camera, and some people just hopping in the bandwagon. Take your time, like I did, where I've watched over 10 videos or maybe 20 now about people talking about the camera, and I've taken time to look at it, go through the specs and try to see if it's something that works with my workflow. And unfortunately, it didn't work with my workflow because of whatever the reason that I mentioned, but also because of S-Log, because I'm more of a Vlog type of guy now. And I remember the one reason why I left Sony was because of S-Log, because I didn't like, I just think I found S-Log to be very hard for me. As with Vlog, yeah, it just works for me. And again, this is more of a personal thing, but I do believe this camera, it's a valuable investment for some people. And I think for people that are looking forward to invest in their first cinema camera, where they're not really trying to break the bank in terms of like going all in with the FX3 or the FX6 or any other cinema camera, FX9, something like that. And if you're a person that also just it's the first time you're investing in a cinema camera, I think this is something that you could potentially think about and you could potentially invest in. But without further ado, big up Sony. Great camera. I really look forward to learning in the next couple of months and hear more from other people about the experience about using the camera, because I think a lot of the videos right now are just people reviewing the camera in like a couple of hours and not really having a dedicated amount of time where they can really look at the camera and really like give an accumulative feedback or review. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, either comment your ideas on what you think. Thank you so much.